fell right out. Flavor hanging out.
As good as it did.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know though. That's a good battery.
Really gets on it. Look at that. Sideways. Other than that.
So to start out with, this is a Boscom 353. It's 400 real watts, and I have some other Boscoms that I'm not sure what the wattage is, but this is like a $50 transmitter and super reliable. And then I've got that going to this. This is all new. Tim at ReadyMade sent me the carbon fiber pan and tilt, which I'll get going in a little bit. And then this is ReadyMade's FPV camera. It's 950 lines. And really, with FPV, you can only get 700, but this is supposed to be like one of the best, and I haven't flown it yet, but it sure looked pretty in my goggles. And then in the house here, I've got the Futech FY41AP, and that's doing my return to home, and everything that you would need as far as waypoints and loitering. And so the great part about this, we kind of found out last weekend, is if you lose video signal or you have an issue, you can always flip, just loiter, and that thing will just do figure eights until you get your stuff together, or you can bring it home with return to launch. And I think you have to have it in an FPV plane like this. And then I'm running a nice Spectrum, one of the high-end Spectrum receivers, because it's got dual satellites plus another antenna, so I'm hoping I get more range that way. And what else? I ran a UBEC, a UBEC, to power the receiver as opposed to the Futech, so I know exactly the voltage going to my servos. And the trick is this flight controller is controlling everything on the plane, but my receiver is controlling the servos on the pan and tilt. So I wanted to make sure I had steady voltage going to that. Any questions?
How do you get from the satellite or the receiver to the controls to your flight controller?
The flight controller, all your servos go into the flight controller and then go to the receiver. Okay. So it's just kind of in line.
Okay, so it's in between it.
Right. And I thought it was going to be complicated, and it's not simple or anything, but it's a lot easier than I ever thought it would be. And it's been really reliable up to this day. I don't want to jinx myself at all. The GPS unit's back there on the tail. Yep. And then we have the speed tube, which actually comes in handy, you know, when you're up there loitering or returning to home, it'll maintain a steady speed all the way back. And the wind is what affects that.
Do you have an on-screen display with,
yeah,
so you can see the... It's
got a built-in on-screen display. It has everything I would ever need. And I'm running factory specs. I haven't really tweaked anything. And then this camera, the ReadyMade, it comes with default settings that Tim actually input himself. So those are the settings that I'm going to run with today. They're supposed to be the best.
Gotcha.
Well, we had our awesome Friday flight. It did get a little hot, but man, the wind just stayed down.
Yeah, it was a great day to fly for sure.
The highlight, I think, is, you know, I've been building my Penguin and putting in the flight controller and all that stuff since before the flying season, starting this winter. And you got the Sky Mule up. You still have components to go, though.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on some components from Hobby King to really outfit that for FPV, but I did get to fly it with the gyro today from Blue Light Technologies.
How was that?
It was great. That thing is awesome. So I'll be, we did some video for the review that we'll be wrapping up, so look for that to come out this week if you're watching this podcast right now, which will be out next week for us. But so really happy with that. And then
so I got up in the Penguin. I did in-goggle takeoff.
Yeah. Super
easy, scooting around the field like crazy. And then I hear Jason fire up the Ranger.
Well, before I fired up the Ranger, we had a monitor set up with a diversity receiver on it, and you wanted to be by that to use as a backup in case your goggles went out.
And I use the Sky Zones with an external camera.
So I'm like, okay, you've already got the goggles on. I'm gonna have to like hand walk you over to the
He takes
monitor.
my hand, and I was like, wait. I've got an external camera. I'll just use this thing.
So he changes to the external camera, and he's looking at the front of the goggles,
which is very wide angle. It's
really
very,
wide angle,
very like a mirror that you would look behind you with in your blind spot.
And so if the monitor station was here and Jim's walking. And he keeps walking, and then we're like, whoa, stop. And
the monitor looked like it was 8 feet away, but I was about to knock it all
You were like right on that thing, about to run into that. So be careful with the Sky Zone goggles. Objects in the LCD finder are closer than up here.
So then I got up and I was flying around, and it was awesome. And I had the new ReadyMade 700 FPV camera in there, and like I say, it did feel more high definition to me. It was very nice. And then I also had my pan and tilt rolling, and everything, I can say this now because we're down and we're not going back up today, but everything worked great. And so then Jason was like, well, I'm going to fire it up, and his Ranger jumps in the air.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you where the lid got a little dramatic up in the sky. I go up and then I hit loiter, so I'm doing my figure 8, and I've got the DVR from Surveil Zone.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to be sure that I DVR this. And let me tell you, the screen on that thing's pretty tiny for me to see everything, but I was able to, because it gives you a lot of information. But I got it on, I got it recording, and then I stick it back in my pocket, and then I hear Jason say, my plane's a lot faster than yours.
So I was chasing you, and I had you in my screen, and I was like trying to fly as slow as I can, but you were flying really slow in the Penguin. That thing slows down like crazy.
And I kind of like flying slow FPV.
So at this point, I'm not flying with goggles yet because I don't have my autopilot on. I'm gonna wait to do that. So I'm looking at my screen, which is attached to my transmitter, and so I'm coming up on you, and I'm like, man, we're getting really close. Like I'm flying way faster than you.
Right when he said I'm flying way faster than you, I'm going to jump out of loiter and take control of the plane. But in the camera, I see my whole plane go like this.
So I take my eyes off the screen as I'm kind of like pulling up and away from you, in the screen anyway. And by the time I look and find us in the air, I see us hit and kind of bounce off. And so I'm like, oh man, we just hit. And then my plane recovered and was flying fine.
And then I said, you know, I can't see my airplane. And they're like, no, you're fine. And I'm like, I don't think I'm fine because when everything was nice and where I wanted to be, the whole plane just wanted to roll. And I said, at first I thought maybe it was just me, and then I realized I had a problem. And I said, I'm going to land. And so what we found out when I came down was that when all we can figure is that he came up under, and there's not a dent on my plane, but the aileron servo had been knocked.
Yeah, I think I came on top because I had to push that aileron down.
Right.
So his whole right aileron, it slipped on the control linkage,
right,
and was locked full down deflection on the right aileron.
So this is you know how people say I don't use the rudder or learn to use the rudder. The rudder saved my whole airplane, and you know this isn't just like a little foam airplane in the sky. This has got my flight controller and all this gear on there.
Yeah.
So I'm coming around and I line up the runway, but I'm pulling hard to the left. It just wants to roll over. And so I jammed the rudder. I had to pull back the Ellie. I had to pull full right aileron, and I was afraid I wouldn't have enough deflection to keep it level.
Yeah.
And so I got it all gauged just right, and I knew that I was going to come in nose first and jack up the whole nose of the Penguin. But I landed it on the runway, and I just ran off into the grass. No, I landed right off the runway in the grass, and it landed like I meant to do it on purpose.
Yeah, look, I was actually watching as I went up high to cloud level almost, and I was watching you land, and you did a good job with it. That was probably not easy to do, especially with full right deflection. I mean, you were pegged on the sticks to keep that thing under control.
And I do want to say a thank you. I don't know this guy's name, but he's always at the field when we go out there. I'll make sure to find out what it is next time. But he was standing next to me, and so when I was bringing it in, you know, when you're in the goggles, I always feel like I'm kind of drifting a little bit, which you are. And he was like, okay, nose down, give a little more throttle, and he was totally helping me bring it in, you know, with his eyes and through the, and that's why my airplane is beautiful. And I put it back in the air 10 minutes later.
It's another great reason to have a spotter in case I'm flying and come up and hit you. He'll help you get back on the ground. So, but yeah, we fixed that at the field with just a screwdriver in a couple minutes, and we were back up in the air.
Oh, and then we got to actually tandem fly.
Yeah, so we switched positions a couple times, chasing each other, and I filmed it with the GoPro on the bottom of my Ranger, so we're going to see how that footage turns out later.
And then I had the Surveil Zone DVR, which, by the way, I said it before, I'll say it again, I really am in love with this thing. I had my I Be Crazy Blue Beams, and I didn't see a flicker one today.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of flickering last time I was out. I'm not sure why it's so nice today. But so I DVR'd, and so he pulled up in front of me, and this was the first time we've ever done this.
Yeah.
And so he was pretty far away from me, and then I got braver and braver, and then we got pretty close, you know, and I had to dive down underneath you a couple of times.
Yep.
It was, if FPV is addictive, that type of flying is more addictive.
It is awesome. I can't wait to do it again, and we'll get better and better at it. And so I expect, you know, in the coming months that we'll have some pretty wicked looking footage.
We need a third
person.
So
we do need somebody to come film it for us.
Like a full-on formation, one in the front, 2 wingmen, or 2 in the front.
Yeah, you could have used your FPV cam, look down the wing at the other plane. We'll have to do that next time.
Next time, and we don't know when this will occur, but just down the road is Leapers Fork, Tennessee. And it's all country and all country music stars. So it's you're either a farmer or you're a famous country music star. And it's giant 100, 200 acre pastures. And I know a guy that owns a lot of land out there, and he lets us fly. And I told Jason, there's a dirt road. We'll probably have to hand launch out of this place, but we can fly all over the place. No one will care. Yeah. And which will be more fun than flying the square where we're flying right now.
Yeah, it will be great. I'll have my autopilot in there, so I'll be really comfortable doing it with the goggles, having that backup system, so it's going to be a blast.
And speaking of that, it makes me want to get my quad all FPV'd out, and so today I got the Phantom sort of going. I got it in the air, and the thing I was liking about the concept of FPVing the Phantom is that if I were to get in trouble, lose signal, whatever, I can neutralize the sticks, and the Phantom's just going to stop and hang. Yeah. And that actually has saved me today. But I'm going to get the Phantom, I'm going to hook it up with some more FPV gear and get that going, but I really want to get my 258 and some of my 250s going.
Yeah, and then I've got a 250 coming from, who's it coming from? Hobbyco, Great Plains?
Hobbyco.
Yep, so I'll have a 250 quad with FPV system here shortly as well to do a review on that we'll play with, and we'll talk about that probably on the next episode.
That's actually camera only. So it's not, it doesn't come out of the box FPV. Yeah. But depending on what it can carry, like my little...
it will be FPV by the time I'm done.
I have an RCI-1 Extreme, which is kind of it's the hip kit on the block for a micro quad, and it'll carry 100 grams with the bigger props. And 100 grams is like an iLook camera, or maybe a micro cam and a transmitter. So that's another thing I'm working on.
Yeah, that's great. Cool.
Wait, Phoenix sent me a carbon fiber kit for the RCI-1 Extreme. So it allows me to take everything off the frame. Now, the build looks a little complicated. I've read the instructions 3 times. Okay. But what it does is it spreads everything out so that my transmitter or my receiver and video transmitter are a little farther apart. So that's kind of my next little build that I have on the table.
Cool, man. So it was a fun day today. I got to wear out the Sport Cub from Park Zone.
You did wear it out. You were impressing the local pilots.
The guys were digging that thing. It's awesome.
It's too bad you're such a terrible pilot,
I know.
Jason.
I'm still learning.
You need to work on it. And I brought those little cameras that we talked about at the start. I didn't apply them to the plane that we were flying, but what I am going to do is hook it up to the Penguin and shoot a series of video samples of those cameras with the on-screen display through the DVR, and then I'll do a little review on all those so you can look at, you know, daylight and kind of nighttime views and things like that. So that'll be in the future. What else? Is that it?
Awesome. I think that pretty much covers it.
Well, it's been a hot, sweaty, non-windy, awesome RC day today. Thank y'all for watching. Hey, please subscribe. Hit the subscribe button right up there, right there. And subscribe so you can check it out, because we don't only fly all the time, we also do reviews on just about everything that's moving in the RC world. We also go to a lot of events. Jason just went to the JR Aero Tow. Why don't you?
The Horizon Aero Tow.
Oh. Whoop.
Used to be the JR Aero Tow, now it's the Horizon Aero Tow. Yeah, we went up there and I was there all last weekend doing photo and video coverage. It was an awesome event. Some of these airplanes were amazing to see. Just huge, ginormous airplanes, sailplanes.
We were at Joe Nall, and Pete Goldsmith from Horizon was in my golf cart. He said, Jim, I really wish one of you would make it out to the Horizon Aero Tow. And then he said, stop talking like me.
Is Peter Australian or?
Peter's Australian, right. He said, Jim, no, he hates it when I do his accent, so that's why I'm doing it. But and then we surprised him, and Jason really wanted to go, and I'm like, yeah, you should go.
Yeah. So I had a blast up there. Thanks to all the Horizon guys and the friendly folks up there that welcomed me and let me use the tent for shade when I needed to take a rest and upload some photos. And it was a blast. You guys ought to check that out next year. They want to try to get over 100 pilots and just aero towing all day long as much as you can handle. So it's a great show to go to.
All right, man. Well, good Friday.
Woohoo!
The weekend's on.